The morning light was pale and weak, filtering through the heavy curtains of the palace. King Edmund sat at his desk, staring down at the invitation that had arrived earlier that morning, the seal still fresh and unbroken. It was a letter from an old friend, someone who had once been close to the heart of the kingdom, but had long since disappeared into the shadows of history. The invitation was clear, an appointment to meet, to talk, after all these years. There was no mention of the reason, only the date and time, today, at the edge of the kingdom, where the forest met the plains. Edmund ran a hand through his dark, graying hair, a mixture of curiosity and apprehension rising in his chest. It had been many years since he had seen this friend, an old advisor, a mentor in many ways. The past between them was complicated, filled with both honor and betrayal. But still, Edmund had always kept his word. He had always kept his appointments. His advisors had warned him against it. "A man like him, Your Majesty, is not someone to trust again. There's no telling what he wants," they cautioned, their voices filled with concern. But Edmund had made up his mind. He would go, if only to understand why he had been called. As he prepared for the ride, the weight of the crown on his head seemed heavier than usual. There were many things to handle in the kingdom, issues of trade, diplomacy, and rebellion in the distant provinces. Yet, none of these seemed as pressing as the mysterious invitation. Edmund mounted his horse, the familiar sound of hooves echoing against the palace courtyard as he rode out into the early morning mist. The path to the meeting place was quiet, almost eerily so. The kingdom's roads were always busy with travelers, soldiers, and merchants, but today, the world seemed still. It was as if the land itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. Edmund couldn't shake the feeling that something was about to change, something beyond his control. As the sun climbed higher in the sky, the dense forest on the horizon began to take shape. The trees were tall, their branches twisted in unnatural shapes, as though they were reaching out to each other, whispering secrets. The clearing where he had been invited lay just beyond. It was an old place, a place of memories. Edmund's heart skipped a beat as he recognized it, an old stone bench surrounded by tall grass, the same bench where he had sat many years ago, contemplating the future. When he arrived, there was no one waiting. The place was empty, save for the rustling of the leaves in the wind. Edmund dismounted and waited, his eyes scanning the trees, the ground, the skies. There was no sign of his friend, no indication of what was to come. The minutes stretched into an hour, then 2. The patience required of a king was beginning to wear thin. Had he been tricked? Was this some elaborate game, a test of his resolve? But then, from the woods, a figure appeared. At first, Edmund didn't recognize him. The man's cloak was tattered, his face obscured by the hood. But as he stepped into the clearing, the shape of him became familiar. The broad shoulders, the once confident stride, he hadn't aged a day. The last time Edmund had seen him, he had been a young, vibrant man with ambitions as grand as the kingdom itself. Now he was older, worn, yet there was something in his eyes that hadn't changed. The same burning intensity, the same quiet wisdom that had once earned him the trust of the king. "You came," the man said, his voice rough, almost as if he hadn't spoken in years. "I always keep my appointments," Edmund replied, his voice steady, though there was a tightness in his chest. The man chuckled softly, his eyes still hidden beneath the shadow of his hood. "It's been a long time, hasn't it? I wondered if you would remember." Edmund nodded, his mind swirling with 1,000 questions. Why now? Why call me here after all these years? The man took a step forward, and in that moment, Edmund saw the faintest flicker of the friend he had once known. "There are things you need to understand, things that have been hidden for far too long. I've watched your reign, Edmund, and I've seen the mistakes, the errors you've made." Edmund's jaw tightened, but he kept his composure. "I've made no such mistakes. The kingdom is thriving. The people are loyal." The man shook his head slowly. "Loyalty is a fragile thing, my friend, and a king is only as strong as the truth he holds." "Truth?" Edmund's voice hardened. "What truth?" The man's eyes finally met his, and for the first time, Edmund saw the weight of the years in them. You were blind to it, Edmund, to what was truly happening beneath your rule. You closed your eyes to the dangers, to the betrayals. You trusted the wrong people, and now you must pay the price. Edmund stepped back, his heart pounding. You speak in riddles. What are you talking about? The kingdom was never yours to rule, Edmund. It belongs to something far older, far darker. And now it's coming for you. A chill ran down Edmund's spine. What do you mean? What are you saying? The man looked around, as though checking for unseen listeners. You are not the first king to sit on that throne. There were others before you, others who made pacts, who traded the kingdom's soul for power. Your father, your grandfather, they knew what they were doing. But they never told you, did they? Edmund's breath caught in his throat. You're lying. My father never— He did, the man interrupted. And so did yours. And now, the debt is due. The kingdom is bound by those ancient pacts, and the price is your life. The ground beneath Edmund's feet seemed to tilt, his world spinning. This is madness. What do you want from me? I'm not here to take anything from you, Edmund. I'm here to warn you. You've been living in the shadow of a lie. The kingdom will fall, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. The air around them seemed to grow heavier, as though the trees themselves were leaning in to listen. Edmund could feel the weight of the man's words pressing down on him. You knew this all along? He asked, his voice barely above a whisper. The man nodded. I've watched from the shadows. I've waited for the right time to come forward. And now, here we are. Edmund's mind was racing, his thoughts a whirlwind of disbelief and fear. And what do you want me to do? The man stepped forward, his voice urgent. There's a place, a hidden place, deep within the kingdom. It holds the key to everything. If you want to save your people, you must go there, but time is running out. The silence stretched between them, the weight of the decision pressing heavily on Edmund's chest. He had always been a man of action, a man who made decisions quickly, decisively. But now, faced with the enormity of what the man was telling him, he felt frozen, unsure of where to turn.